Welcome to the Recharge Podcast, where we discuss everything life behaviors, experiences, decisions, and outcomes. Join us every Wednesday for different topics of discussion in everyday living and how to be a better you. Now, here is your host, Daryl, aka Quiet One.
Welcome to the Recharge.
Yes. Welcome to the Recharge, where we talk about various topics we encounter in our daily living. Recharging you to think, act, and decide how to be a better you. We talk, you listen, you decide. Today, my co-host and I are going to discuss fear. Hello, Christine.
Hello.
You know, one of my biggest fears is being able to speak in front of a audience of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? That is a phobia. It actually is called glossophobia, fear of public speaking.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one for me.
Yeah, you definitely did some work to overcome that. So.
Yep. So what do you fear the most? What do you fear?
I think the most thing that I fear is a fear of death. And that would be necrophobia. You know, I know we're all going to die, but I think my fear is how I'm going to die.
Right. Yeah, I think about that too. In my head, you know.
Yeah.
I want to be peaceful. I do know that much.
Yeah, I want to die in my sleep, actually, if I had a choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So fear is something created by a physical, emotional, or a psychological threat. When fear gets in our heads, it becomes our own worst enemy. And it keeps us from being ourselves. It blocks our truths. But before we go into our topic, we're going to actually feature our entrepreneur message, spotlighting one of our entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneur we're going to spotlight is Shay's Fun Cakes.
Hey.
Does your taste buds scream utopia?
Utopia.
Well, imagine that perfect sweet. Shay's Fun Cakes aspires to create confectionery treats that intrigue your taste buds. Leaving you long-lasting memories of what they taste like. Their ultimate goal is to offer the highest degree of customer service and standards to keep you coming back for more. That's Shay Fun Cakes. Check them out at their webpage at shaysfuncakes.com. That's ShaysFuncakes. Shay's Fun Cakes, all one word. And now, let's get back to our topic. So, what is fear? What is fear? An article by Lisa Fitzshare, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's a freelance writer and an editor. She has an article called What is Fear? So it describes fear. It says that fear is a natural, powerful, and primitive human emotion. It involves a universal biochemical response as well as a high individual emotional response. Fear alerts us to the presence of danger or the threat of harm, whether that danger is physical or psychological. So let's dig into our topic. So our title today is Coping with Fear. Coping with fear. Let's talk about some symptoms of fear. So some symptoms of fear, let me see here. I think about rapid heartbeats.
Yep, that's happened to me.
And let's see, shortness of breath, sweating, trembling,
Yes.
chest pain, upset stomach.
Yes.
Yep. So these symptoms, I can relate to shortness of breath also because I know when I speak sometimes in public, I tend to speed up because I'm trying to get it out. At the same time, I'm nervous.
Yes.
So my fear kicks in, and I also can have upset stomach. So
And a little bit of perspiration too.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Yes. Sweating. Yes, for sure.
Like a mini hot flash.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not going to say that for me.
but yeah.
But anyway. So that, in addition to physical symptoms of fear, some people experience psychological symptoms such as being overwhelmed, upset, or feeling out of control. So it's an important point to remember this. So even though we have physical reactions, our experience of fear can be perceived as either positive or negative, depending on the person. And there are some different types of anxiety also along with that, anxiety disorders, right? And I think you didn't mention it, but some of them, I will say this, are characterized by fear, these disorders. And one of the big ones that I know that I experienced with the military, not for myself as much, what they call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Also panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, and that's just to name a few of those. Mm-hmm. So talk about some of the phobias. You mentioned the one I talked about me, public speaking, and talked about yourself.
Yes. Well, I was actually looking at verywellmind.com, all one word. And it's a link that you can actually link into to find out more of some of these phobias and fears. It's a link that you can actually learn and educate yourself on self-improvement and some mental health issues.
Right.
But here are some of them, and there's from A to Z. So I only picked, quite a few of them that I think, we can all relate to, or some of us.
Right.
But the aerophobia, fear of flying, atychiphobia, fear of failure. I hope I'm pronouncing these correctly too. Autophobia, fear of being alone. Atylophobia, fear of imperfection. Necrophobia, fear of death, which I've mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Agamophobia, fear of marriage. Glossophobia, fear of public speaking, which I mentioned for yourself.
Right.
Philophobia, fear of love. And claustrophobia, which is fear of confined spaces. Yeah,
speaking of claustrophobia, I actually can't. I had an experience with being in confined spaces. I am claustrophobic, and so today I had to actually get a MRI done, and this time I actually got into for the first time with technology, a seated MRI, which was different than being in a closed MRI, and the experience was a better experience. I was happier, with that experience. So those phobias are big. There's some you mentioned in there that I really
like. We can look at the atychiphobia, with the fear of failure.
Yeah.
That's huge. A lot of us don't live our best life because we're afraid of failing.
Yeah.
Or looking bad.
Yeah, looking bad.
Like the antilophobia, where it's just fear of imperfection. We have to take the risk, be willing to make the mistakes and look bad and fail, because we are actually learning and growing in the process. We got to learn to laugh at each other.
Yeah.
You got to laugh, laugh about yourself, laugh at each other, not take life so seriously.
I agree. But, there's one you had hit on was the one about marriage.
Oh, yes. That's gamophobia, fear of marriage.
Fear of marriage, that goes on both sides, men and women.
Yeah, which I didn't mention these fears. It's a gynophobia, fear of women, androphobia, fear of men, pedophobia, it's fear of children.
Oh, wow.
There's a whole bunch of, if you go on this website, you'll see there's so many fears, like fear of peanut butter, fear of flowers, fear of plants and trees, bugs. Yeah. There's all kinds of phobias out there.
So that tells you our society, we have a lot of fears.
A lot of fears. And you know what? We have to be honest about these fears.
Yeah.
And talk about them, and be able to find ways to overcome them.
And get through them, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
But we can't deal with it if we're not honest.
Yep. So let me go into some causes as well. Let's talk about some causes real quick, which align with some of those phobias you talked about.
Yeah. Can I say this other thing too?
Go ahead.
Real quick. Also, cyber phobia is a fear of computers, and technophobia is fear of technology.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all fears. Oh, this is another one. Cacophobia, fear of ugliness.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's just tons of fears that are listed in verywellmind.com. So if you're interested, go check that out.
Yeah. Okay. So causes, certain specific objects or situations. So specific objects would be like bugs, reptiles like snakes, and situations would be like afraid of heights.
Mm-hmm.
Also flying, which you kind of mentioned a phobia in there.
Yes.
That would be situation. Let's see, future events. You're afraid of fear of future events. Maybe your job is changing. You're going from one boss to another boss that does something differently, and you got that change coming on within that business. Let's see, imagine events. So you're imagining events. You're imagining something happening in your head.
Almost like a paranoia. Maybe.
Yeah, it would be like a paranoia too, in your head, and you think that something's going to happen, and really it's not. It's just you thinking that, and so that would be a type of imagined event. Let's see, real environmental dangers. We can say that like wildfires would be that. Your house is going to be maybe in the line of being burnt down, or you're in a fire in your own home. It could be like things like, riots and stuff like that you're involved with or you're around. Those are real environmental dangers. Car accidents, things of that nature. Here's a big one. The unknown.
Mm-hmm.
The unknown. Everybody.
Anything and everything. I'm just scared.
No, I'm scared. I'm scared. Okay. So, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And it's not up to us. We just got to live our life today.
Yes, live in the moment.
And not think about tomorrow as in, I'm worried about tomorrow. I'm worried about what's going to happen. That's not really our concern, to be quite honest. It's up to God and what he's going to do with us and how things are going to work out for us. So, But I want to say this though about that, about God, in 2 Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, it says this. It says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear or timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." Think about that just for a moment. He didn't give us a spirit of fear. So why are we so worried? He didn't give us that spirit of timidity. So why are we timid? But he says we have power. Do you believe that? That you have that power? Do you believe that we have love and that we are love? Do you believe in the self-discipline of ourselves to be able to have the power and the love and connect to knock out the fear and the timidity that wants to take hold of us?
Yeah, and also, too, it reminds me of, too, that perfect love drives out fear. And a lot of these fears that we are talking about stops us from living our best life.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to recognize these fears, understand them, but we have the power to overcome them. We just got to be patient with ourselves and go through the process, get yourself a support group, and tackle these things little by little.
For sure.
You don't have to tackle them, in huge amounts, but just little by little.
Right.
And you just grow in your self-discipline, your confidence, and your power.
For sure.
And your love for life.
For sure. So you have to continue to fight, like you said, through your fears. Remove your self-doubt about yourself. Trust that it's going to be okay.
Because, and it will be okay.
Yeah, because fear is destructive to our being. We want to continue to conquer our fear. Continue to work, on our awareness about the fear that enters our life. But we want to remove it. We don't want it to have the ability to paralyze us.
Right. Because that's not living.
No. So you want to also think clearly when you're going through this, when you're overwhelmed with fear and anxiety. I know it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But that means you got to stop and think about what's going on.
And you're not the only one that has fears, too. A lot of times you get in your frame of mind, you're like, you're the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has fears.
Yep. Everybody has fears.
So we should take the judgment out of it. If anything, we need to give compassion to ourselves, but also to each other, help each other grow and overcome.
Yep. Like you said, everybody has fears, but it all affects us differently.
Yes, it does.
So we want to take the time to take care of yourself when it comes to your fears. So let's talk about some of the strategies that can help you manage your fear. So I have four strategies, 4 takeaways, are some points here. The first one is take the time to breathe. Breathe. Be aware of yourself.
That's actually a good feeling.
It is a good feeling. It's a good feeling. I practice that in my yoga. Yoga breathing. There's different yogas I'm learning about different breathing techniques not in yoga and meditation, but yoga has breathing techniques too.
Well, even in exercise too.
Right.
Exercise.
And that's a good point about exercise, because what happens is sometimes when we're lifting weights or even, exerting ourselves, we forget to breathe.
That is very true.
You're
out of breath because you ain't breathing.
For sure. So breathe through your panic.
That's right.
Take the time to think clearly. Practice compassion for yourself. Number 2, face your fear. Build up your self-esteem. Practice being secure with your thoughts. Put that positive stuff in your head, those affirmations or talk, that positive self-talk, put it in your head. Also, you can build a support group of people to manage your emotions. You can talk about it. Find people that share some of your same fears that you have and talk about it and see how they conquered their fears. See how they overcame those fears.
Or if they didn't, maybe y'all can conquer them together.
Yeah, for sure. Number 3, let's see, decide to act. Train yourself to think and then act. Sometimes we act before we think. Visualize a happy place. Visualize yourself conquering your fears. Mm-hmm. And address what could be holding you back as you decide, in conquering your fear. Number 4, be productive. Look at the evidence of where information is coming from, or where that fear is, what's driving that fear. Don't get caught up in the negativity.
Yeah, and also fear, it's so emotional. Like, it's a deep emotion, and a lot of times we can't trust completely in our emotions. They're there to guide us, but
Right.
They're not there to be the solid thing that dictates our actions. So
Right.
you definitely want to educate yourself about some of these fears.
For sure. And now,
it's time for Call to Action. This is where you decide on the takeaways from the message.
Yes. Call to action, CTA. What are you going to take away from the message? Hopefully, you're inspired to cope with your fears so you can find yourself to be stronger, confident, disciplined, and more in love with life and all that it offers. Conquering your fear will help you step into your true self. We spoke about 4 ways to help manage your fears. Breathe. Build your self-esteem. Have positive self-talk, right? Think and act. Like visualize yourself conquering your fears. And be productive. Remove the negativity. So we hope this topic has inspired you to discuss, study, or explore more ways to create happiness for life and your family. Like always, we hope you take this podcast message further by sharing it with others. You can find us on our YouTube page under Quiet Number 1, The Recharge. And if you like what you hear, please click on the subscribe button on our YouTube page. Again, I say, click on the subscribe button on our YouTube page to stay connected and receive up-to-date episodes. If you have other suggestions that are helpful to our Recharge family, by all means, please comment on our YouTube page on this episode or other episodes. Until next time, my friends, I say stay charged up
and stay in peace.
You've been listening to the Recharge Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes or YouTube to get new, fresh weekly episodes. For more, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or visit our website at therecharge.net. Until next time, we talk, you listen, you decide.